Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the truth of what's holding us back in terms of our health based on the book Life Changing Foods by the medical medium Anthony William. I know a lot of you could be very excited about me giving information about this book, and I sure am. Right now, I'm going to be speaking about, the beginning of the book. The middle of the book is where the meat of all the wonderful foods are, the information about it. And I'm just looking through it right now. It's amazing. I'm going to be sharing about that. But first, I wanted to give a small, I wanted to read something that's very important about the factors that contribute to our mystery illnesses. So many mystery illnesses in our world today that many people suffer from, and even also we can be suffering from fatigue, brain fog, and things like that, and we just don't know why. So I'm going to be sharing some very important information that can give you a little bit of light. And when I start going into the Holy Four, okay, which are fruits, vegetables, herbs and spices, and wild foods, I'm going to be giving maybe 2 per video. We can begin to understand a little bit more about our health, which is so important, okay? So let's begin, okay? The Unforgiving 4. Just wanted to point out. The Unforgiving 4 are radiation, toxic heavy metals, the viral explosion, and DDT, which will obviously be stated here. Okay? Okay. If you're looking to point fingers about how things got so bad in the world, here's where to look. Radiation, toxic heavy metals, the viral explosion, and DDT. I call them the Unforgiving 4 because they have shown no mercy in the decades, centuries, and millennia over which they have developed. They have, on their own and together, managed to ravage our bodies, make us question our own sanity, and push us to the breaking point as a society. These 4 factors are responsible for the modern day epidemic of mystery illness. Some of them, like mercury, have been wreaking havoc for thousands of years. Others, such as DDT, seem like open and shut cases from fairly recent but distant enough through history. Throughout the centuries, events such as the Industrial Revolution and the invention of the X-ray have served as tipping points, moments in time where one or more of these factors could take particular advantage, gaining the momentum that brought us to this precipice. The Unforgiving 4 are the invisible intruders in our lives, the unknowns that keep us up at night, the reason that life has become so challenging and unpredictable. When I wrote in my first book about various chronic illnesses, I almost inevitably ended up mentioning at least one of these factors for each. They are that prevalent and threatening. We have suffered from a what you don't know can't hurt you illusion in our current age. Even though everywhere we turn, people are suffering from persistent symptoms or grave illnesses, we try not to delve too deep into the why of it, hoping that if we keep some distance, the same fate won't befall us. Collectively, we quickly forget about these dangers we do hear about. The Unforgiving 4 are prime examples. If we can't see radiation, toxic heavy metals, viruses, or DDT, and if they're not making the headlines every day, then we tell ourselves that it's okay not to think about them. We forget about society's old mistakes and instead forge ahead, not stopping to realize that without examining the past, we risk making brand new errors. In order to protect yourself, it's imperative to understand the Unforgiving 4. First, they tend to get passed down from generation to generation, an inheritance that's often confused with genetics. When we fall ill and that illness is similar to something a family member went through, we automatically believe that we've been handed bad genes. It's an easy theory to subscribe to because we look at the people we're related to and see similar traits. We figure that along with certain nose shapes or hair color or gait, we've inherited a susceptibility to a certain condition as part of the same gene package. Have you ever been told that your health struggle is genetic? Don't get wrapped up in the belief that there's something inherently wrong with you. Rather, the reason that so many illnesses get passed down in families is because the Unforgiving 4 are transmitted through the bloodline. through the bloodline. Radiation, heavy metals, viruses, and DDT can all be passed along at conception and in the womb. That's the real story behind most illnesses that travel from generation to generation. We have to be cautious not to subscribe to ideas that hurt more than help us. Yes, we have genes, and yes, they play a pivotal role in our existence. The mistaken concept that you're dysfunctional on a genetic level, though, is just one more belief system that finds fault in your physical body's life-sustaining sacred foundation. It's in the same league as believing that autoimmune disease is the body attacking itself. It's not. For more on this, see the introduction to part 2, the Holy Four. So if you guys want to know about autoimmune disease, it actually says it in this book in the second part. So if you guys want to hear about that, please comment below and I'll be more than happy to do so. Chronic illness is not about genes. It's about what your forebears were exposed to that got passed along to your parents and later to you. When you understand that the problem is a foreign presence such as a pathogen or toxin, it changes your perspective because it means you can get rid of it and be free. The second important point about the Unforgiving Four is that they amplify in combination, so the worst illnesses tend to be due to more than one of them. For example, a person could be exposed to radiation, either directly or through the family line, and because radiation weakens the immune system, she or he becomes more susceptible when it comes down to a virus like the Epstein-Barr, which can develop into multiple sclerosis. Or if a person inherits a high level of DDT, then gets exposed to heavy metals, particularly aluminum, which is found in deodorant every single day, it's a recipe for brain cancer. Also, toxic heavy metals are a favorite food of viruses, so a bug that would otherwise stay dormant or be flushed out of the system will instead proliferate if there's something tasty like mercury or aluminum nearby. Mercury in vaccines and aluminum in everyday things like deodorant. The third and most important point to keep in mind is that there is hope. With vigilance, it's possible to lower your exposure to these factors. With diligence, it's possible to detoxify them. And with the life-changing foods in the pages to come, you can protect yourself like never before. Okay, so let's talk about radiation. We've gotten to the point where we ignore radiation. We forget it's a problem. Even writing about radiation right now, I can anticipate what you may be thinking. Who cares about radiation? Not too long ago, radiation concerns about cell phones were a big deal. Now we've brushed them aside. And while we worry about radiation exposure directly after a nuclear disaster, if we don't live near the site, before too long it leaves our consciousness again. The truth is that every nuclear disaster has done irrevocable damage to our planet. To this day, we're still under siege from the fallout of the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II, the 1986 explosion of the Chernobyl nuclear plant, and the Fukushima nuclear plant plant catastrophe of 2011. When radiation was released into the atmosphere in these events, it didn't all fall to Earth immediately. Most of it stayed there and still remains in the air we breathe, even if we live far away from Japan or Ukraine. The radiation that did fall entered our water supply and soil, so we're in nearly constant contact with it. Only a fraction of the radiation from Hiroshima has fallen so far. Much of it is still in the atmosphere. In 1,000 years, only half of it will have come to Earth. Then there's the radiation that people were exposed to before X-ray technology was fully regulated. In the mid-1900s, it was all the rage for a trip to the shoe store to include sticking your feet in an X-ray box called a fluoroscope. The idea was that the shoe clerk would help you find the best fit by looking at the internal structure of your foot. And because children's feet were always growing, kids who are especially sensitive to radiation would get subjected to the fluoroscope repeatedly, as would anyone who enjoyed shoe shopping, often for pleasure. Today, more radiation than ever before saturates our body systems. Whether from direct exposure, environmental fallout, food and water supply, contamination, or inheritance of our parents' and grandparents' exposure, radiation is one of the major health risks we all face. It's a leading contributor to cancers, endocrine system dysfunction, bone diseases such as osteopenia and osteoporosis, bone spurs, immune system failure, and skin diseases. Radiation also acts as a trigger for every illness that can affect human beings. So if you have any underlying unforgiving 4 factors in your body and then you get exposed to radiation, it can be the prompt that turns a dormant contaminant into a full-blown condition. Okay, let's move on to toxic heavy metals. It's no secret that certain heavy metals are toxic. We all know how to be careful of lead paint when renovating older homes, and we've all learned at a certain point to switch over to mercury-free thermometers. What's less well known, and in some cases a complete secret, is that toxic heavy metals are behind some of the most widespread health issues today. ADHD, autism, Alzheimer's, infertility, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, Parkinson's, depression, anxiety, cancers, seizures, and more. These metals are also fuel for the viral-related illnesses you're going to read about next. Plus, we risk exposure in everyday contexts of which we might be unaware. Lead, mercury, copper, cadmium, nickel, arsenic, and aluminum can all build up in the body to create or contribute to illness. When was the last time you used aluminum foil? Or ate out of an aluminum takeout container? Or perhaps you live in a house with copper pipes. Or you regularly walk through a park treated with pesticides, which often contain heavy metals. Potential exposure is everywhere and sometimes unavoidable. It's even falling out of the sky in vapors. In some cases, the heavy metals in our cells have nothing to do with exposure in our lifetime. Mercury, the most corrupting of the toxic heavy metals, can easily stick around a bloodline for millennia, passed from generation to generation, amplifying as it goes. Wow. So the mercury in a child's cerebral midline canal that's causing his autistic symptoms could have been mined 3,000 years ago and could be causing more trouble now than ever before. Or if the inherited mercury has different placement in the brain, it can cause a person's depression instead. We're not just against current exposure, we're dealing with ancient toxins. On their own, these heavy metals are poisons. What's worse is that they tend to oxidize, causing even more problems, such as toxic runoff that damages any tissue in its path. And toxic heavy metals aren't just a problem in the brain. When they're present anywhere in the body, they lower overall immunity and act as fuel for viruses and bacteria. Okay, so I know this information may sound a bit scary, like wow. Okay, these toxins can be passed down through bloodlines for millennia and amplifying as it goes. Okay, this is just to serve as information so that you can know what's really going on. And I know that it's very easy to just be like, oh my gosh, aluminum and mercury and all this. You know, let's not take our worries or fears to an extreme. Instead, let's use this information to empower us and live our lives with wisdom, with everyday wisdom, and a knowing of this information that we can share with others, which is the point of knowing things, you know. And so also we would help our family members if we see them with these things. We can educate them, and not force what we know on them, but softly educate them. And education and knowledge is power. Okay, so let's use this to fuel us and to inspire us. Okay, to use the holy 4. Okay, grains, fruits and vegetables, herbs and spices, and wild foods to our advantage with an everyday inspiration. So if you're looking for the diet change and you just can't stick to it, you're just like uninspired, This is going to be your inspiration when you learn about the benefits that these foods have and the life that they give you. It's just absolutely amazing, and I'm very excited to share this. Okay, so let's continue with this very important information before we move on. Okay, the next one is the viral explosion. More than 100 strains and variants in the human herpes virus family are wreaking havoc on the population. 98% of the time, cancer is caused by a virus in combination with at least one of the other unforgiving 4 factors. Wow. Plus, viruses such as Epstein-Barr, which in an early stage takes the form of mononucleosis, shingles, cytomegalovirus, CMV, HHV6, HHV7, and the undiscovered HHV10, HHV11, and HHV12, which is the herpes virus, including unknown mutations, offshoots, and varieties of each, are the true causes of some of the most debilitating and misunderstood chronic illnesses of our time. MS, Lyme disease, RA, thyroid disease, fibromyalgia, CFS, temporal mandibular, oh my goodness. And I thought I was a good reader. Let me try this one more time. Temporal mandibular joint, TMJ, issues. Wow, I said TMJ the whole time. I didn't even notice. Okay. Let me just go back to the beginning of the diseases. I'm sorry. Okay. So MS, Lyme disease, RA, thyroid disease, fibromyalgia, CFS, TMJ issues, migraines, diabetic neuropathy, Bell's palsy, Meniere's disease, frozen shoulder, and symptoms such as unexplained tinnitus, vertigo, twitching, tingling, tachycardia, atrial fibrillation, heart palpitations, erratic heartbeat, fatigue, hot flashes, and burning often have ties to viruses. And as the other unforgiving 4, we can't help but run into these infectious pathogens in our everyday lives, whether from sharing a soda with a friend or from eating a restaurant dish prepared by a chef with a cut finger. These viruses often fly under the radar because they don't start truly causing problems until they've moved past the blood infection stage to take up residence in the organs where doctors don't know where to look for them. Over the more than 100 years since the Epstein-Barr virus first took root in the population, it has mutated and spread like wildfire, accounting for the epidemics of people stuck in bed with unexplainable fatigue, muscle pain, and symptoms, sometimes joint deformity. All too often, though, patients are told that EBV can't be the problem because their blood tests show antibodies and indicate a past infection, not a present one. If there were tools to measure for EBV in the organs, a huge light bulb would go on for medical communities. They'd realize that for the person suffering from a condition such as fibromyalgia, CFS, or thyroid disease, the simple case of mono the patient had back in college never really left his or her system. It just took up a new residence within the body and started causing more serious problems. Plus, there are many more strains of these viruses than medical science has discovered, so there's a lack of awareness about what to look for. In the human herpes virus family, for example, the list doesn't stop at the documented HHV8. It goes up to and past HHV12, and countless patients suffer with the burning, immobilizing nerve pain of shingles and have no idea that the virus behind it, because studies have yet to reveal that there are non-rashing varieties of shingles, so doctors don't know to diagnose it. When herpes viruses have their favorite foods around, such as toxic heavy metals, they excrete poisonous waste products called neurotoxins, which disrupt nerve function and confuse a person's immune system, as well as the doctor who's trying to diagnose the symptoms. Lupus, for example, is the body having an allergic reaction to EBV's neurotoxins. The condition ends up getting all the focus while the underlying viral infection continues to grow. If everyone knew what was going on with the viral explosion, knew that it was occurring, and knew how to protect themselves, it wouldn't be the problem that it is today. Instead, people walk around in agony and don't know why or how to stop it. While the many get labels for their illnesses such as lupus, Lyme disease, or MS, those labels don't give them answers about the true cause of their suffering. Okay, so all these conditions and diseases that I've just mentioned are so prevalent. I'm pretty sure one of you knows somebody that has any of this. So what a great way to learn a little bit more about the underlying cause and how to truly heal them, because with the foods that we're going to speak about later on, they actually provide a list of certain conditions and symptoms that you can have and the food to eat to heal yourself from it. So I'm just so happy. Alright, so let's move on to DDT. People are rightly worried about pesticide exposure. It's important for your health to eat organic when it's possible. Tend your lawn and garden without synthetic chemicals, and be wary of what the grass at your local park may be treated with to make it so green. All of this present-day awareness, though, shouldn't distract you from a dangerous chemical that was once so celebrated and widely used that still exists in our surroundings, saturating our family lines and affecting our health decades after it was first discovered to be toxic. Of course, I'm talking about DDT. It's easy to think of DDT as a thing of the past. Revealed over 50 years ago as contributing to cancers and other illnesses, wildlife endangerment, and environmental pollution, this toxic insecticide has been banned from widespread use in the US for over 40 years. Trucks spraying DDT don't drive through every neighborhood anymore, and salesmen no longer show up at every door proclaiming its virtues for its use in the garden. Unfortunately, even decades after the pioneering efforts of those like scientist Rachel Carson, who in her 1960 book Silent Spring helped expose DDT's dangers and advocated to massively curtail its usage, we're still dealing with it every day. That's because DDT remains in the environment, which means it gets into our food supply, amplifying as it moves up the food chain. Further, as with other Unforgiving 4, DDT gets passed down from generation to generation. So if you weren't alive during DDT's heyday, chances are that your foremothers and forefathers who were around them came into contact with the chemical, which means you could have ended up with that old DDT in your system, wreaking havoc on your health. We're also being exposed to current day DDT fallout because not every country has outlawed its use. When DDT is sprayed, it gets into the air, and then winds carry it far and wide, even to other continents. DDT, other pesticides, and herbicides are the major underlying cause of suppressed immune systems. They weaken people's bodies so that pathogens and contaminants can take advantage. Generation after generation, DDT can make family members susceptible to the same illness, so that what's really a condition that could be healed through detoxification is passed off instead as a genetic problem about which much can't be done. While DDT may be in history books now, it's still preying on us. For example, by making our livers hypersensitive. Viruses are the other cause of major liver distress. In parentheses. Instigating diabetes, enlarging spleens and hearts, causing poor digestion, triggering migraines and chronic depression, creating skin disorders, and disrupting hormones. This is tragic. It's exactly why I want you to have this information, so you can be proactive and take measures to cleanse your system with the foods in this book. Okay, so that was an introduction about the Unforgiving 4 factors, okay, that are creating such great problems in our health today, okay. It's the truth that's holding us back, okay? Because a lot of us think that maybe things can be genetic, or we can blame it on other symptoms or other diseases or whatever. But in reality, we have to keep in mind that we do have these super huge factors that are creating all these problems. Okay, so there we have it, the 4 unforgiving factors about what's holding us back. Okay, my purpose with this video is to inspire us to gain much more knowledge about these factors and see how they can be maybe affecting your life or somebody that's close to you, because it is so prevalent, more prevalent than it is recorded or shown. And we as a collective have to make an individual decision to educate ourselves on these things that are real, and we're not going to get anywhere by sweeping it under the rug like we've done for so long. It's time for us to wake up. The time is here, and I am definitely urging you to make the change that you need to make in your life to glow and live with passion and purpose. Okay, so I am very happy to share this information, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And soon I will be talking about the amazing benefits of all these fruits and vegetables. But before that, I also want to share some other things before leading to the fruits and vegetables and things like that that are in this book, which are so important. And my next video is going to be on managing stress, which is something that we can all benefit from. Okay, so thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.